Hello, thanks for joining me for another Midweek Minute. This week we're going to Luke's Gospel, Luke chapter 12 and verse 7, where Jesus is speaking and he says, "Indeed, the hairs of your head are all counted. Don't be afraid." Now this is from a passage where Jesus is teaching in several of the Gospels, that passage on not worrying or not being afraid. And it's a passage that I think we all can learn from because there are things that strike fear in all of our hearts. Most of the time, that fear proves to be unrealistic or unrealized. Around my house, we've been binge watching the old 70s fire EMS TV series Emergency. And there was a scene in there where one of the firemen, Johnny Gage, he's received that letter from the IRS that he has to go in for an audit of his taxes. And he is just petrified. And the whole shift, that 24-hour period that he spends at the fire station leading up to going to that appointment with the IRS agent, he is just worried sick, and he's asking all of his coworkers, well, what's the worst you think that could happen? And when it all plays out and he comes back to work after that day off and he's had that appointment and he's not talking about it. And finally they're all like, well, what happened? And he's like, oh man, it was nothing. The IRS wound up actually owing him a few dollars back because of an error they had made. And all of that worry, all of that fear, all of that anxiety that had just had him almost paralyzed for that whole 24-hour period leading up to that appointment with that IRS agent proved to be totally pointless. And Jesus is telling us that here in this passage, that we get worried, we get worked up, we get fearful of so many things in life. And many times those things that we are worrying so much about, they don't even prove to be valid. Valid concerns, valid worries. The thing we're thinking is going to happen doesn't actually pan out. It doesn't become a reality. And we got, as maybe our grandparents used to say, we got all worked up for nothing. So just remember today, the very hairs of your head are numbered. God knows every one of them. He knows every intimate detail of our life. He knows the things that are going to come our way that are going to cause us trouble and they're going to cause us worry. But He's there in the midst of them. So we don't have to worry. We don't have to live in fear. We can rest in the fact that God is in control. And He has got us in the palm of His hand. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you again next week for another Midweek Minute.